Welcome to this GCSE history video with Ross's most stylish, Mr. West. Now today we're looking at Hereward the Wake and the rebellion at Ely in 1070-71. Now first of all, Hereward the Wake, great name, but what do we know about him? Well, not a great deal really, okay. It seems he's a local thane who'd been exiled under Edward the Confessor and fought as a mercenary in Flanders and then returned in 1069 to found that his lands had been given to a Norman. At the same time, the Archbishop of Peterborough, near to Ely, who may have been Hereward's lord, was replaced by a Norman called Thorold. Okay, so Hereward used the treacherous fenland terrain to his advantage. If you go to Ely now, it's quite a beautiful, flat but beautiful place. But back in Norman times, it was pretty flooded. Okay, so he used this treacherous terrain to his advantage to sort of fight a guerrilla war against the Normans and other East Anglian rebels. Now then, the Danes, how did they play a part in this? Well, they turned up again, obviously, in the spring of 1070. King Sweyn brought a fresh fleet to England. Love that, a fresh fleet. To England, threatened invasion based around Ely, which today many miles inland, but was then a large island surrounded by wall and marshland. Very difficult to attack and actually to get onto the island. Required a great deal of local knowledge as well to understand what was occurring. The Isle of Ely became a centre for a number of English rebels. But the man who emerged as their leader was Hereward. He proved an effective resistance leader, but could never have won support of King of England. So that's Hereward, and that's the part the Danes have played. The big fleets are out again, and we're going to see. Obviously, we can see there's going to be a pattern maybe with the Danes later on. Okay, so what happened then with this rebellion of Hereward the Wake? Okay, well, first of all, not a lot is known, as I say, about Hereward, okay, and about exactly what happened. But his first action seems to have been to attack Peterborough Abbey, okay. The bishop had been replaced by Thorold, the Norman, and he attacked the abbey, probably with support from the Danes, and carried off all the gold and silver and jewels back to Ely, okay. And as I say, Ely today is far inland, but it was like an island there, okay, and it was very difficult to get to. You required quite a bit of local knowledge to get through the marshlands, okay. Now, the rebels managed to hold Ely for a year, okay, and obviously during that time, more people started to support the rebels, okay, because they were surviving, they were doing well, all right. And in 1071, more could join the rebels. His brother Edwin had been murdered around the same time. And the main danger was that the access to the sea, okay, the fact that the Danes could come in and out and kind of raid up and down the coast, as it were. I'm not a geographer, as you know, but I went down that kind of swamp and marshland, okay. So William initially left it to his local sort of leaders to try and deal with the rebellion, but it didn't quite work out. So what he decided to do was to get rid of the Danes in his usual tactic, okay, of bribing them, okay. William sent messages to King Sweyn offering money if the Danes would go out. The bribery worked again, okay, and the Danes left. But also they just casually had the gold and silver and jewels in their boats from the earlier raid of Peterborough as well. So it's a double win for them. Got the bribes and also got the gold and silver that had been hatched, you know. So that's a decent effort for them. And they sailed home happy with the money. Similar as before, really. Now, how did he deal with the rebels is slightly interesting, because one textbook suggests to us that he was to bribe local monks to get the inside track and get onto the island. And admittedly, that seems to be some of the history that I would suggest. However, the other textbook talks about how he built these two causeways, okay? Now, using wood, stones and trees and inflated cowhides, I think that's my favourite, just kind of, I don't know, bung up a cow, inflate it and then get across there. The aim was to ride across the bridge on these nights, but it didn't work, okay. It sank and there was people died and were sucked in. Chainmail and horses sank into the marsh and drowned. So then, apparently, a second bridge was built, tying small boats together, and this proved much more stable. And William's cavalry crossed onto Ely. And in the chaos of the fighting, Hereward probably escaped. No definite evidence about his fate. Marcus surrendered yet again and was in prison for life. And some rebels had their hands and feet cut off. Okay, and others had their eyes put out. William's warning to anyone else who tried to rebel against him. Okay, so why did this rebellion fail? Okay, well, we can see that there's clearly an issue here about the Danes being motivated by their own motives and perhaps William's leadership. But you wonder whether, I think probably that at the top I'd put that one. Okay, the Danes had their own motives and plans. If they were up for, a genuine rebellion against William, then you could think, well, they'd have a chance of surviving. But once they went home and had their own motives, that was fine. And then as a kind of secondary reason underneath that is William's actions and his leadership, because of the way he's able to sort of understand the situation and send them on their way with the money, and then however he got onto the island, either bribing the monks or with his causeway, shows a kind of understanding of the situation. And by dealing with the rebels, imprisoning Morcar again, cutting off people's hands and feet, poking their eyes out as examples, and showing that actually he's decisive and he can deal with setbacks if they did fall into the off the cowhides and into the marsh. Okay, so I think those are the two key causes that you want to put down as why the rebellion failed.